Thank you for joining us for the Miami Valley Salute to Veterans. I am Cindy LaPointe-Dafler, a volunteer host for the Miami Valley Communications Council. My husband was killed in Vietnam in 1969 and was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. Being around our veterans and talking with them, hearing their stories and their thoughts is my way of honoring my husband's legacy. We hope that hearing these memories from the veterans of our community will help us all better understand the dedication of those who have served. Today we're talking with Jeri Birnbaum,
Yes.
Reverend of Dayton, a U.S. Air Force veteran who served active duty from 1995 to 2004. She will tell us the story of her time in the military. Thank you for being with us today, Jeri.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Okay, we're going to start kind of at the beginning.
All right.
When you went into the military, what made you decide to do that, and what made you choose the Air Force?
Well, after my first husband was killed, I was 6 months pregnant with my oldest son, and after I was teaching high school, and I had always had a feel and I believe a gift for understanding the word. But I always said, I want to take care of my family and I'll just be a teacher and it's fine. But after my husband was killed in an automobile accident, I decided to go into the seminary, United Theological Seminary in Dayton, Ohio. And I received a master's in 1984. 1980, I remarried, and then my husband went into the Air Force. And so that's how it began. And our first base, we went to Cannon, New Mexico. And I was just a military person's wife, an officer's wife. But I always worked, went to the chapel, maybe teaching Sunday school, and really established our first church in that area, and it was called House of Refuge in Cannon Air Force Base. And then from there, we went to Las Vegas, Nevada. That's Nellis Air Force Base. And I met the great chaplain Jerome Nadine, and he just passed at 90 here in 2023.
Oh my gosh.
And I was, again, teaching Sunday school and, having a master's of divinity and just working around, doing what I can in the church. Chaplain Nadine said, "Jeri, you want to come into the military?" I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Now, I'm up there in age. I was in my 30s. I'm mid-30s by this time, 33, 34.
And you had children?
And I had children. By that time, I had all four. Don't put 5, Jeri, no. All 4. Sometimes I think I have 5 with the grandchildren. I get them all blurred. It's all the same. But I had 4 children, and my youngest at that point was around about 4 or 5, something like that. And so I wasn't really a busy lady anyway, but still active in the church. And so I said, okay. And he said, "Well, are you ordained?" I said, "No, but I could probably be ordained if I would ask my elders," because I did have my license and all of that. And so somehow or another, and I forget all the intricacies of how it went, but I was ordained in, I think it was in Arizona. And then I had that, and then I was able to apply to be a chaplain, and I became a reserve chaplain under Chaplain Jeri Nadine. Never will forget him. Just a great, tall man, lovely. And that was my beginning. And I continued to, of course, work in the church, and they would give me different activities, and I would go to maybe different ceremonies, beginning to use my uniform, just getting acclimated. I'm not sure. I might be that there was my first real, trauma or incident where I had to really put on that chaplain's cap and cross, and is when you had visitation. There was a plane that crashed, and we went to the sister's house, and of course was with myself and another an Air Force officer, and when she saw us at the door, so that's the beginning. It's right into ministry. It's because you're in a very vibrant community that deals with keeping the world safe, and sometimes that means loss of life. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So from there, we went to Mountain Home, Idaho, and Mountain Home Air Force Base. And there, I was a reservist. They asked me to take over the gospel service. The chaplain that had been over it was on a motorcycle, and he ran into a deer came out of somewhere and ran into them. His wife was on there. She lost her life, and he survived. And he asked me after I went to visit him when I first got there in the hospital. And then he asked me if I would, take it. And he said something. And I know this is kind of with the African Americans and the gospel service. He said, Jeri, the gospel service is too demanding. And I said, well, okay, I understand though. Because the religious aspect of the African American in this country has always played a big part in how we function in this society, with Dr. King and all of that and before. So that, but we did. I was basically active duty, even though I was on reserve status. And for 2.5 years, the congregation grew from about 3 or 4 to around 100.
Wow.
And we started out with a family and about 3 or 4 families, and it just kind of dissipated because of the accident or whatever. And we developed a basketball team, and it was just a beautiful experience. And I learned a lot there, working with people. And I always relax in a way because, you still get a little pay and you don't have to worry about the deacon board. So that was kind of nice, but a great experience. And then we moved into the city of Boise, and I started my second church, which was called Rapture Temple, because I belonged to the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World, and a woman that becomes a pastor has to have a worthy work, even to be ordained, really, and to continue your license. That was a stipulation then. It's better now.
Oh, good.
But, that's the way it is now. And the women out there, you know what I'm talking about in TV land, fellow women ministers and all the evangelists and whatever. So, but that was very a great experience, and really boosted my confidence in the ministry and what I was capable of doing. But it's when I went to, I went to Wilford Hall for a year.
What is that?
For clinical pastoral education.
Okay.
Because many times in the chaplaincy, you can specialize. And you have some who are counselors. You go into different areas, social work. You can get the kind of degrees in that. Well, my specialty was hospital chaplaincy, and so CPE is that's core to the work, and that's where I really began to, because you have to really dig deep, and it's one thing about the military and the Air Force in particular, they educate you. A lot of education, a lot of training, and this is important. And because you have to learn how to minister to all people,
right? Not
just your denomination. It's a ministry of presence, as I call it. And So and then you have to find out your strengths and you have to understand your weaknesses, especially in life and death situations, because you're going to face it. These are things we must understand and confront, and how we react. Where are we in this paradigm? Where are we? And I had my two areas of study, peds oncology, which is the children with cancer. And then second was in-house or inpatient mental health. And that experience was something. That experience. That let me know through, and I'm going to tell a little story on that it's not, wherever you are, it's not you. Because I was going through some changes during that time. It was kind of a rough time for me spiritually too. And even in my family and marriage, it was very difficult. And I realized that even in that, it's God that makes the difference. It's not you, but it's God. And because many times as ministers, I think we get bogged down in trying to save the world and we have a savior complex, as they like to say, a savior complex. But I found out how great God was in that instance. There's a young kid that came in, and his father was the commander of the base, and he had a psychological break in college. And he wasn't supposed to be in our hospital. He was supposed to be in the Humana or the outside of the military base, because he wasn't a soldier. But they brought him in, and they put him in a padded room. He was just that bad.
Wow.
And he was talking about demons and witchcraft and all of these kinds of things. And again, I was going through a very weak, really, in my life, a spot. But the text came to me one day and said, "Chaplain, would you look at this patient? Will you see?" And I said, "I don't think so." And then they came to me a second time and said, "Chaplain, will you go in and check this patient?" And I said, I don't think so. I don't want to do that. That's not my area or job right now. And then they came to me a third time and said, "Chaplain, will you please look at this?" And I for some reason, it was meant for me to see this patient. And my dear chaplain, Birnbaum, a great chaplain he was a Navy chaplain, but he was head of the chaplain program at Wilford Hall there in San Antonio, Texas. And because that's where Wilford Hall was located. It's not there any longer, but it was a great hospital, Air Force hospital. And he said to do something, maybe, put on a cape or get a candle. And I told him, "Chaplain, I don't think so. I don't think I'll go in that direction." I just went in and I said, like, "Esther, if I die, I die. Whatever happens, I don't know." So I went in, and the God in me, and he was making all the, how these animations people go through. And I just said to him, "Well, if you don't sit down, I'm not going to be able to talk to you." And he looked at me real strange and sat down. And in the midst of that, we went back and forth, and he's going to die and you're going to live. The opposite of all that he was saying. I hate this. Well, we love you. And it was just, I don't know how long I was in there, back and forth. And finally he looked at me and said, "Can I lay down now?" I said, "You can lay down." And I'm going to tell you, I don't know, I was sweating. I think I was wet. I don't know how long I was in there, but a psychiatrist, a female psychiatrist, ran over to me some hours later and said, "What did you do?" And I said, "Well, I don't really know. He said he was going to die, and I just said he's going to live." And he said he's going to kill someone. I said, "No, we're going to live." And I said, "That's all I can explain to you on that." She said, "Well, I'm a minister too." I said, "Well, that's great." But the point again is, it's our children, first of all, go through a lot of strain in the military. These are young people who are taken out of their family environment and thrown into an environment where at first they have to eat on a rush, they have to sleep on a rush, their whole lives change, their whole minds have to regroup, because you have to learn how to take orders. And that's not really normal for the flesh to do. The will of the person is to do whatever it wants to do. And you have to be trained, even at home, to conform with the norms of your family. In the same way with military, and it's strict, because it's life or death out there in the field, whether you can take a command or not, whether you can obey orders or not. So the children have to go through a rapid, 3 to 4, 2 to 3 months maybe, or how, the weeks that they have it. Some of them break.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some of them break. So that was a very telling time, and the strength again of what the young people go through. When I was in, let's say, Kuwait, I'm just going to jump. And I was in Kuwait. That was another time in the military. There was a young girl. We were in line, and she was about 4 foot, maybe 9 or 8, and she was carrying this big M16, and just a vision of that. Wow. A young female, maybe 19 or 20, no more, with a gun was almost as long as she was on her back. Gosh. And then you see the greatness of our young people in America. They get sometimes we give these kids a bad rap, but we've got some great kids out there. And the ones in the military are holding up the guard here, you see. It's not the generals are great and they give in direction, they have the smarts, but it's our young people who are facing that field.
Yes. And
my sense of responsibility then and duty came to the forefront in that incident, because you have to inspire these young people and give hope. That's, again, the ministry of presence. You get out there on the flight line, it's so hot. In Kuwait, you're 110, 115 every day. Computers breaking down. These kids are out there sweating. And we go out and we get popsicles and ice cream or something to cool them down. And that means a lot, And again, and I keep saying this ministry of presence because that's a big part of being a chaplain in the military. Mm-hmm. Because you have all kinds of religions, and some people don't necessarily claim to believe in God.
Right.
But there are people, are human beings. The love of humanity is what the forefront, I believe, in any decent religion is to care and to love. And that's in all of them.
Wow.
Okay. And so so these are experiences I've had. I know there was a kid that when I was in Altus, Oklahoma, there was a beautiful black kid too, beautiful smile. And we were on the flight line, and it was cold out. Oklahoma can get cold. And we were given hot chocolate and just beautiful. And then again, standing with those M16s. Some months later, this child committed suicide in Germany with his M16. Now, at that point, I don't know what happened. I think the rest of the chaplains were at a conference, or even our head chaplain, he was gone. They called on me, and I had to go through all of the different and triage basics, kind of a triage process, but each unit, and talk to them, because suicide many times can be catching. Young people get in their heads about different things. And they're still, young people they're pack people. Like pack. They thrive in being in groups and being with companions. Yep. That's core for young people. Mm-hmm. We get old, we don't want to be bothered with anybody. Let me stop. Okay, go ahead.
If you're just joining us, this is Miami Valley Communications Council Salute to Veterans podcast. I'm your host, Cindy LaPointe-Dafler, and today we're talking with U.S. Air Force veteran Jeri Birnbaum.
Yes.
Sorry, Jeri.
Pear tree in German.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us more.
Well, anyway, to continue. So the child committed suicide, and I've had 3 of those.
Oh.
But, and it came back, and it was just, the tree going around to each and to minister in that environment. And in every incident you learn something. There's pressure. Suicide is just amongst our young, and in the military, we've had problems. Yeah. So I never will forget the commander. I did the funeral, and just, it's so sad. And the commander came up to me and he said, Jeri, if I die, anytime soon or whatever, he said, I want you to do my funeral. That was a great compliment, but really it was pain. It was devastating to me, though. It was hard and a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, you feel the responsibility of lives in your hands on how do you interact in the words that you say. Sometimes best not to say anything, but be there. That's important. So that's another great experience. I'm trying to think. I've had so many.
Well, let me go back a long ways.
Mhm.
Did you actually go through basic training, just
I
like
went to
everybody
training-
else?
Yes, I did. Training officer school in, I think that's in San Antonio,
Okay.
Texas.
Yeah.
And yes, I did. Well, officers, we get treated a little nicer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We do. But it's tight though, because now you're in an environment where you're free, and I was free and I could be me. And now you have to work with people. And at a mature age, like you're in your mid-30s or whatnot, and having children, you think you know a lot until you get around with all these smart people and you find you don't know anything. That was the first step. Well, I just don't know much, So, but yes, we did have to go through training.
Yeah. And running and
right,
the whole thing.
Well, and we didn't have to run as much as the Marines, though. And
No.
And they were always making fun of us.
No.
When we were in joint task in Cuba, the Marines, I never will forget a Marine. I was going to a memorial, and I made friends with some of the Marines and whatnot. And you know how they do their uniforms. I was getting ready to go with them. We were all chums, we were all in this together. And one of the soldiers said to me, Chaplain, you can't go with us. I said, what? He said, you're too wrinkled. You're not pressed out. Your uniform is not right.
Oh, wow.
I never will forget that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But see, that's okay. And he was right. I mean, sometimes we get a little lax. We're not as pressed. I'm going to have to say it. We're just not as pressed as the Marines. Go Marines. Hoorah. All right. Love you.
That's great.
So, but anyway, that again, you learn. The other week when you're in a joint task force like that, where you have everybody there together.
Mm-hmm.
And what year was that? I was trying to recall that but it was a time when you had, in Cuba, you had the Haitians, and everybody, just the Haitians and the Spanish, the Cubans who were coming over, trying to get over. So you had all of this going on. This is a time of, was it HIV? They were scared about HIV.
Oh, okay.
And then there is a dichotomy between the Cuban side and the Haitian side. So it's always something.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're in a kind of can be a very, I shouldn't say violent atmosphere, but a very volatile.
I see.
That's a good word. Atmosphere. And you're on the island, and then you've got all these Marines and Air Force and Navy. Met some beautiful Navy women chaplains. Okay. Oh, yeah. It was a great experience. I'll tell you what happened to me, though, which really was another turning point. It's just so much. I was on the beach, and I was trying to make a decision, and this is right between where I'm a reservist, and then because I was sent to Cuba when I was still in the reserves.
Oh, boy.
I wasn't even on active duty yet, but that's how much time and work I had put in.
Mm-hmm.
And so they sent me, and I'm not sure how I got that assignment. Just, we're going to send you to Cuba, Jeri, whatever. And of course you have a lot of you had Haitians and people. So to send your Black chaplains in, is a good thing,
mm-hmm.
And I was out on the beach, and I was just picking up shells, and I was saying to God, I don't know really, God, if I really want to do this though. I think this is going to be tough. I think maybe I don't want to. And when I said that, a wave came out and threw me in the middle of the sea.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. And I was in the middle of the ocean. I never will forget that. And one of the young airmen that I'd been talking to, and hi, you young people, going around talking. I was going down, and he ran out into the water to save me. I was way out there. And in the midst of that, he panicked. And he asked me if we were going to die. And I told him, no, I'd seen my death many years ago, and this wasn't it. And I didn't panic, but I went down 3 times.
Oh, my God.
And I went down once, and I just heard a voice say, breathe. And I came up, and I went down again, and a voice, the Spirit said, breathe. When you go up, breathe. And I came back up, and I took in the breath, and I went back down. It's like it's like a Jonah experience.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. In fact, they nicknamed me Jonah after that.
Oh my gosh.
And but everybody was saved. I saw them take a buoy, a great big knife, and cut the net from the volleyball, and they made a line. And a female soldier with her lifeguard stuff on came out and pulled me back in, and the other guy that was with me, and we were all saved. And I knew, well, God's in control. Again, I have sometimes a little problem with that. Sometimes we think it's us. It's not. And because I've been very independent all of my life. I was trained to think you can do anything. Very independent. I was an only child.
Oh.
And so I didn't, have sisters or brothers to tell me what to do or what I couldn't do,
Mm-hmm.
or to manage. So I was kind of stubborn in a way, maybe a little bit, maybe a little arrogant. I don't want to say all of that, but that might be true. And so I had to learn, okay, who's in control here? And from that day on, I didn't tell God what I wasn't going to do.
Good. That's a good idea.
Well,
because he dunked you.
Yeah. Well, Jonah, the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just went down and said he wasn't going to Nineveh, and that's that. Okay, we'll see about that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really the same scenario.
Wow.
Is telling God a rebellion of saying what you're not going to do, because you just think, I just don't think I have to do this. Oh, I put this out too. I'm a woman, and they don't like women ministers that much anyway. So God, why don't you just let me out of this? That's another. I use that excuse to God. I said, women, we shouldn't even be in this. They don't want us in here anyway. I can just go on back and teach Sunday school, and I can be happy. I said it to God. Well, that didn't work.
No.
So you have to understand, and from there I understood my calling, and from that day forward, I didn't have a fear of when people would say what I shouldn't be, or a woman shouldn't be this, or she can't pastor, or she can't this, and that's all this. I don't go for it.
No.
But I had to learn, and I learned the hard way. And thank you guys. Don't learn the hard way. Just go on and do what God tells you to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I've had a plethora of experiences. It's a journey. I thank God for it. And it disciplined me. It's just a lot to it. I think, and I know this might sound conservative, and I think I'm a bit conservative. That training is good for young people, I think. And if more of our, like in Jerusalem, every young person over there, they have to serve.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a couple of years wouldn't hurt our kids either.
Mm-hmm. I hear that a lot from veterans.
Do you?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
You're all on the same page.
are we on the same page?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's the way I feel.
Yeah.
And as an adult, it helped me. And I could see that the young people that come out of the military, they do have a sense of responsibility. They're trained, and they know how to listen. I'm not saying everybody's going to do good or well, but for the most part, these children are great. And that's why they sometimes come out and get nice jobs. And they're, like I said, the training that they get. I still can't do with the airmen, the young airmen with clicking on those computers, the training they get. I had to ask Mary, could you push this button for me? Please push this button. And now I ask my grandchildren, could you come on and push this TV button? Because I'm lost. Oh, Mama. But these young people have it, and you have to admire them. Oh, these soldiers are great, and they give their lives.
Yeah.
Another thing, when I went to Kuwait, they gave us the anthrax. Anthrax was the threat of that, and we all had to take it. And some people who didn't were dishonorably discharged.
Oh yeah.
And but I had a reaction to it. my body after the third, it was a series of 6. And after the third shot, my body just said, I don't think so.
Wow.
And so they stopped the series on me, but they still sent me to Kuwait. But when I came back, my chest was clouded, and I was on my way out. I think in a lot of ways they thought maybe I wasn't telling the truth, or you can make up because I didn't look sick, and I've always looked younger than my age, so I look healthy. But they sent me up to Denver, to the hospital there, and is it Fitzsimmons? But anyway, they sent me to the hospital, and they saw this cloud. They thought it was cancer, and they did a biopsy, but they found out that it was sarcoid of the lungs. So I am a disabled vet, 80%. Sarcoidosis. It's an immune system that attacks maybe the lungs and go to the eyes. It can just hit anywhere.
Oh my!
And it can, hinder your breathing for real.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in, what do you call it? Not regression, but when you're free from it, you're in. And I know the word is a common word from cancer when you go into isn't that something that why won't that word come?
It's our age.
I think it is. Well, I'm 70 years old. I'm just going to tell you right now. So that's my excuse. But remission. Yeah. Right. And so, but it's they can see it. And so that's a part of being in the military too. You make sacrifices. You are given lots of medicines and different things. Sometimes you have to take the shots.
Well, were you medically discharged then, or
no? I didn't make captain, but because I was ill though, I was able to get my disability, and so it's almost like a retirement payment, that I have. It's sorry that I had to, because they really didn't think I was ill at first, because I didn't appear ill,
right?
And I looked healthy, but I knew something was wrong. You can just tell. And when they looked at it, said, "Oh my goodness," But I didn't have that before I went to Kuwait, and so I'm thinking that the anthrax probably did something to my immune system. Well, at least they gave me credit for it. They finally. It was a battle too.
Yeah.
A lot of our vets out there, we have sometimes hard times getting our benefits.
That's right.
And just think Agent Orange and the cancer that came from that. Because I buried a soldier with Agent Orange. I've had a lot of experience. And now they're given, of course, credit and everything. But before, these people were dying and they weren't given anything. So,
that's right.
Okay. And all you Vietnam era, I'm Vietnam era. I love you out there. Just want to tell you that. And I lost friends in the Vietnam era, and of course a great proportion, an over a proportion of Black men, lost their lives in Vietnam.
That's right.
Compared to the popular are 12% in this country. See, so there's a lot to learn and a lot to understand. But one thing, my father was a World War II veteran. And he was in Okinawa. And he told me, Jeri, and I might want to end with this if it's okay. He said, Jeri, the life is not always going to be fair. And Black children always hear that.
Yeah.
He said, and I know I get kind of sentimental. He said, but I've been around the world. He said, and there's no place like America. There's no place like the United States. And he said, when he got off that ship, he kissed the ground.
Oh.
And was glad to be home. So that's my message. Be proud. Let's continue to work together in this country. Let's support our military because, the law is for the lawless anyway. Really, the military is our peacekeepers. And that's the way you should look at it. And I thank you for everything. And I thank you for, again, being in this country, in America, and having the opportunities that I've had. And thank you for having me today.
It's been an honor. I really appreciate you coming in, talking to us.
Well, I've enjoyed it, and it's helped me to remember and to be grateful.
Very good. Thank you, Jeri.